Good afternoon, everybody. In this session, we'll discuss about antenna arrays. And before we discuss about antenna arrays, we should understand about basically what is point source. And before you understand a point source, we should know the radiation pattern. The reason being is the point source we consider for an antenna is normally going to have same kind of a radiation pattern. So therefore, what is the radiation pattern? Radiation pattern of an antenna is nothing but is a representation of the distribution of the power outflow from the antenna and power inflow into the antenna as a function of the direction angles from the antenna. So this is what the basic radiation pattern, and is normally this radiation pattern is meant for the large distances from the antenna, usually for the far field regions where the spatial distribution of the radiated power does not depend on the distance from the radiation source, and also it is independent on the power flow direction. So that is what basic radiation pattern. And the radiation pattern, if you see, the radiation pattern can be shown like this as a pictorial representation where it is going to have the main lobe, side lobe, back lobe, and side lobes. So what is main lobe? The lobe where we normally going to have a maximum amount of radiation is called main lobe, and we normally going to have the side lobes. Along the side lobes, we normally going to have the very less radiation, and just exactly opposite to the main lobe, we normally going to have a back lobe. So therefore, we normally going to have the front lobe to back lobe ratio, back lobe to front lobe ratio. Also, we can able to find out. Now, same kind of a radiation pattern when we normally draw on a flat surface with respect to angle theta, then we simply going to have a uh, we simply going to have the spectrum on the bandwidth. That means with respect to some angle theta. So when you draw it like this, we're normally going to have this kind of a spectrum. Okay. So it is something like, we are expanding this particular spectrum on the theta axis. Now this angle between these two is total angle is going to be between these two is going to be between the two lobes, between the 2 points of the main lobe is going to be theta. So along theta direction, when you really go with the spectrum, we normally going to find out a spectrum something like this. So we get a half power beam width. Okay, when you come down by 3 dB, minus 3 dB from the maximum. And we normally going to have the main lobe. Main lobe is going to have the maximum directivity, and side lobes is normally going to have the minimum directivity. So all the rest of things are simply showing us the side lobes. And slowly the radiation. That means this particular figure is normally going to show us that as we move on into the axis of radiation. So imagine if y is the axis of antenna and z is the axis of radiation. So if you move towards axis of the antenna, then the radiation is simply going to decrease. So that is what we normally going to have, and the space between the lobes is nothing but the null points. They are simply known as the null points. So this is what basically radiation pattern in a two-dimensional figure. Then similar radiation pattern we can just see on a three-dimensional figure, something like this. This is a three-dimensional figure. Same figure what we have shown earlier. Same thing has been drawn in the three-dimensional figure. Okay. So where there are there are two nulls here. What is a null? Absence of signal is known as a null. Now in between this major lobe and the side lobe, there is a null point. So here the angular displacement or distance between these two nulls, this distance is nothing but equal to first null beam width. That is the beam width which is going to happen at the first null. If you come down 3 dB from the maximum, we normally going to encounter 2 points. That is going to be half power beam width or 3 dB bandwidth reduced signal. And this is nothing but a major lobe we normally going to have. Then these are the side lobes. The small things are side lobes, and last one, this opposite to the major lobe, is going to be the back lobe for us. So same diagram we have drawn. The same diagram when you draw and show it with all the other parameters, something like first null beam width, half power beam width, we can show it something like that. It means between two first nulls, the what is that, the angular displacement or angular distance between the two first nulls is going to be first null beam width, and similarly the angular distance between the power which is less than 3 dB is going to be known as a half power beam width for us. And next is normalized pattern. So usually the pattern describes the normalized field values with respect to the maximum value. So normalized field means what? We normally going to represent the power in terms of any other parameter which is going to be more simplified version. That means in terms of power we normally going to represent. So the power pattern and the amplitude field pattern are the same when computed and when plotted in the decibel scale. Now if you see this, this is going to be a 3D pattern. So this is 3D pattern where this theta and phi both are varying. So this is what theta actually, we normally going to get a cone kind of a structure here. And this entire round shaped thing is going to be like a 360 degrees radiated pattern now, where phi is normally going to vary from 0 to 360 degrees. And phi is varying between 0 to 180 degrees. So that means here it is nothing but a three-dimensional plot for the pattern of an antenna. Similarly, we can have a two-dimensional pattern. See, this is the two-dimensional pattern. That means only one dimension I have taken here. That means we normally going to have a pattern on the circular plane. And we normally going to have a pattern like this here. Okay, which is going to be where phi is equal to 90 degrees. We normally going to have this particular pattern. So that means we can represent the patterns in terms of three-dimensional as well as two-dimensional patterns. So then one more formula which is very important for us in this particular antenna of arrays is the radiation intensity. It is the total power radiated per unit solid angle, and it is generated by U, which is equal to P by 4 pi, where P is the total radiated power and 4 pi is nothing but the solid angle under consideration. Okay. Next, here we are normally going to consider in the case of in the analysis of array of antennas, we are going to consider the point sources. What is point sources? The dimension of an antenna are reduced to a level of a point. Then we normally going to call that particular antenna as a point source. So therefore, a point source is known as a radiator that has dimensions of a point in space. So a point is now treated as a radiator, just like antenna as a radiator, because we are replacing antenna with a point source for the simplification purpose. Now, a point source is nothing but a radiator that has the dimensions of the point in a space. Now, usually antenna radiates in the spherical coordinate system. So let us suppose there is a spherical coordinate system taken like this, where we are interested in getting the power radiated from this particular point, where phi is nothing but the where theta is nothing but the azimuth angle, and phi is nothing but the where theta is nothing but elevation angle, phi is nothing but azimuth angle, and the power is normally going to get radiated from the surface of this particular sphere. Now here, where we normally going to consider the antenna is placed at a center of this particular sphere, so which is known as the point source at the origin. So the properties of the point source is almost similar to the properties of a practical antenna. Only thing is, for simplification purpose, we have simply reduced the size of the antenna to a point source. So that is what very important for us to consider here. Now, what is the reason of going for array of antennas when we have a antenna? So the reason of going for array of antennas is to get better directivity with high gain. That is why we normally go with a antenna arrays. So using single antenna, what are the major performance bottlenecks of the single antenna? A single antenna is normally going to indicate the radiation fields, which are normally the study of single small antenna indicates the radiation fields are uniformly distributed. Antenna provides a wide beam width but low directivity and gain. So a single antenna is always going to have a low directivity and gain. But here we want more gain and more directivity whenever we normally transmit any EM wave from the antenna. So in order to have or achieve high directivity and high gain, we normally go with the array of the antennas. So here there are two solutions which we can have to get a high directivity and high gain. One is that increasing size of the antenna. If we increase size of the antenna, what will happen? The dimensions of the antenna is also going to increase and antenna becomes bulkier. Now to change this antenna to some other antenna in a future time, later time, it will become very, very difficult to replace the antenna with some other antenna. So therefore, Another possibility is that we normally going to have is uh, considering the array of antennas. Another way to improve the performance of antenna without increasing size of the antenna is to arrange the antenna in a specific configuration. So here we have to arrange the antenna in a specific configuration, so spaced and phased, that their individual contributions are maximum in the desired direction and almost negligible in the other directions. So here we are going to arrange the antenna configurations in a particular specific way, where we normally place the antennas in a equally spaced or in a unequally spaced, right, and with phase or without phase differences in an array. Thereby we normally going to achieve the directivity in a specific directions. So this way we normally going to get a greater directivity and gain. So this new arrangement of multi-element is referred to as a array of antenna. So that means in the case of array of antennas, we normally going to have a collection of antennas connected in an array fashion. Thereby we call it as simply as a array of antennas. Something like integer array, where this integer array is going to contain all the elements of the integer values. Similarly here we normally going to have array of antennas. Now here the sizes of the antennas and the spacing between the antennas need not be same for all the elements of an antenna. Now the individual antennas in the antenna array are known as elements of the antenna. That is very important. And the entire antenna is normally called as a antenna array. So therefore the main function of an array is to produce high directional radiation. So why we use antenna arrays? To produce high directional radiations. In the olden days, we used to have a Yagi-Uda antenna. So what is the problem of Yagi-Uda antenna? Yagi-Uda antenna is going to have a high directivity in a particular direction only. So if the antenna is placed in a different direction, the Yagi-Uda antenna is not going to really receive the signals. So we have to keep on rotate the Yagi-Uda antenna to get into the actual connection, actual signal reception. So therefore, that is what one of the drawback of the Yagi-Uda antenna, because of directivity in a particular direction. It provides very high directivity in a particular direction, not in all the directions. But here we supposingly going to have, or we need to, or we are looking for to have the radiation in almost all directions with a high directivity and gain. So therefore, we normally going to use the antenna arrays to achieve this particular thing. So the field is basically a vector quantity with more magnitude and phase, obviously. So therefore, the total field of the array system at any point away from its center is the vector sum of the fields produced by the individual antennas. So here the net amount of field produced at a particular point under consideration in the free space is due to the fields due to the individual antennas. So the relative phases of the individual field components depend on the relative distances of the individual element and in turn depend on the direction of the antennas. So therefore, what is that we can say here in the array of antennas? The relative phases of individual field components. That means here we normally going to have array of antennas. Every antenna is going to have some phase. Every antenna is going to radiate signal with some phase. So therefore, we can say that the relative phases of individual field components depend on the relative distances of individual elements. So the antenna elements are separated by some space, physical space. So that is what called relative distance. Therefore, the relative phases of the individual field components depends on what? Relative distance of individual antennas, and in turn depends on the direction of the antennas as well. So the array of antennas can be classified in the 4 categories. So we discussed about 2 types of antennas, which is going to be broadside array and end fire array. 2 more array of antennas we can have called as collinear array and a parasitic array type of the antennas. So the broadside and the end fire antennas are very popular. So we discussed in the earlier class that what is the broadside type of the array of antenna. So if you see, observe this carefully, imagine that all these antennas, which are say vertical lines, are there here provided. So these vertical lines can be treated as a monopole antennas or some antennas. So all these antennas of equal dimensions are now placed on the axis of the array. Now see this, this is the axis of the array. On this axis of the array, all these antennas, these vertical lines are treated as antennas, are simply placed. In the case of the broadside array, the maximum radiation is happens to be in a direction which is always normal to the axis of the array. Therefore, the direction is always perpendicular. Like this, we normally going to have the radiation pattern. That means it is along the direction. This is the arrow, which is the direction, which shows the direction of the maximum radiation. Whereas antenna array axis is going to be like that, means the elements of the antenna array are arranged along the axis of the array. Okay. Now, whereas the radiation is always perpendicular to the axis of the array in the case of the broadside array type of the antennas. Now, let us look into this particular radiation pattern. Okay. Now, see this radiation pattern. In this radiation pattern, if you see, the radiation pattern is shown like this, whereas the antenna array is in this fashion. That means the axis of the antenna array is vertical. If the antenna axis is vertical, radiation is going to be perpendicular to the axis of the antenna. That means it is coming in a horizontal fashion. So that means this is the property of a broadside array type of the antenna. So there is another type of the antenna which is going to be called as, and one more important distinction is that the broadside pattern of the broadside array is basically a bidirectional pattern, can be converted into unidirectional by placing an identical array behind this array at a distance of lambda by 4, fed by current leading in the phase by 90 degrees. So if at all you wanted to cancel any one of this particular radiation in one of the fields, then what we can do, we can simply going to place another array by placing an identical array behind this array at a distance of lambda by 4, fed by the current leading in phase by 90 degrees. So therefore, let us suppose I want only this radiation pattern. Then what I'll do now is simply going to put the antennas in the opposite phase to this, and with a phase difference of 90 degrees with respect to this. Thereby, these two are normally going to get cancelled out each other, and we get only the radiation pattern in a particular direction. So this is what basically the end fire array antennas, sorry, broadside array type of the antennas. And next one is going to be end fire array type of the antennas. So a lot of confusion is going to take place in the case of this end fire array and broadside array. So many students are interchangingly writing a definition for end fire array as the broadside array, and exactly vice versa. If at all broadside is been asked, they are writing the explanation for the end fire array. So they're getting confused. So broadside is basically the reference array. In a reference array, what is that you're going to have? The radiation pattern is always going to be perpendicular to the axis of the antenna array. If antenna array is vertical, radiation pattern is perpendicular to this particular antenna array direction. Whereas coming to the end fire array, it is going to be along the same direction of the array. That means the direction of the maximum radiation is always along the axis of the radiation. If the the antenna elements are getting placed along the axis of array, and if the direction is also along the same axis, then it comes under the end fire type of the arrays. Well, so this is what basically the end fire array type of the antennas. And next other varieties we're going to have is collinear array, and next one is going to be like a parasitic type of the array arrays we normally going to have. So in the collinear type of the array, collinear is a type where we normally going to arrange the antennas in a stack fashion or one after the other with equally spaced distances. Then that type of antenna array is going to be called as a collinear, is known as a collinear antenna arrays. Okay. The next one is going to be the parasitic type of the antenna arrays. So in this parasitic, it is similar to broadside array, but only difference is that one element is fed directly from the source. In the case of this parasitic type of the array, among many antenna elements, we apply source or we fed source to only a single antenna element. That is what the difference between parasitic antenna element and other antenna elements. And other elements are electromagnetically coupled because of its proximity to the feed element. So we will be having a single feed element in the case of the parasitic type of the arrays. So the parasitic type of the arrays, the examples of this parasitic type of the arrays are going to be parabolic antennas, Yagi-Uda antennas are very much popular in this particular thing. So this feed element is called the driven element, while other elements are called as parasitic elements. So feed element is always called with a name called as a driven element, and other elements are always called as a parasitic elements. So the parasitic elements lengthened by 5% to the driven element act as reflectors, and another element shorted by 5% act as a director. So here we're going to have other distinctions like reflector and director. We discuss them in detail when you go to that Yagi-Uda antennas and the reflector type of the antennas. So first of all, let us go into the analysis part of the point sources to construct an array of antennas. Now here we are imagining two antennas which are of point sources, say A1, A2 are the two antenna point sources, and they are replaced by distance D. They are replaced by distance D here. Now here the concept of this array can also be extended to more number of elements, and finally an array of isotropic point sources are formed. Based on the amplitude and phase conditions of isotropic point sources, there are three types of arrays we can form. So based on the amplitude and phase conditions of the signal of isotropic point sources, we can form three types of antennas. One is array with unequal amplitude and phase. That means the signal applied at A1 and A2 are going to have same amplitude and with same phase. And using the same antennas, we can form another type of antenna, array of antenna with array with equal amplitudes and opposite phases, and array with unequal amplitudes and opposite phases. So this is how we normally going to have the array of antennas. And now, as we discussed previously, that we always going to test the performance of the antenna at a far place. See, this is nothing but the far field. Point P is taken as far field, where the distance between A1 and P is going to be large enough so that it is going to be considered to be used for far field radiations. Therefore, we consider this P, point P is located at a distance of infinity. So therefore, we will be doing the analysis for the far field regions, not for the short field regions. So this is how we normally going to have, first of all, the basic diagram for the two element array. Now here the two antennas called A1 and A2. Here we are not discussing on the type of the antenna. What is the type of the antenna? We are not discussing. Just we are treating that these two are the point sources of the antennas, and we are proceeding further for deriving the radiation patterns of an antenna with respect to the angle of inclination. So along which angle the radiation patterns are normally coming here. So that is what we are going to see. So that part we normally see in the next session. Thank you for the today's session.